Thanks a lot, Mike. I want to thank each of you for coming. And many of you have been here before, and maybe half the room, and the other half perhaps it's your first time. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I and others got involved in this, and then tell you a little bit about the projects we do. So before I do that, I wanted to give credit to Chris Mullington and Ed Egan. They're absolute masterful artistry to create the videos that we're going to stream tonight, that being the first one. Really gives you a sense of the austerity of the place, how difficult a lifestyle the Afar have in their traditional homeland, how hot it is, how dry it is, how sparse the conditions are, how marginalized, how impoverished, all those things that we don't see any of in our beautiful environment here in Canada, is really what drew me 8 years ago to get involved. I had been wanting, like many of you, to go to Africa for maybe 3 decades. I thought about it, and I give thought to how I could do that. And I did not want to go on a safari. I didn't want to go take pictures of rhinos and gazelles. I wanted to connect with the people. And I was fortunately patient to wait for that chance to happen. And that happened when the Afar came to me here in Ottawa. I, as a refugee, immigration, citizenship, and humanitarian lawyer, had represented probably 20 cases in the 20 years or so before Ahmed and his other elders walked into my office. They brought a bottle of Hummer cologne to thank me. The Hummer cologne, if you check the price, it's $80 or something like that. So they came, there was about 10 of them, and they came into my office, and all they did was to thank me for the many cases that I had successfully represented. There was no ask. It was just a nice visit with a thank you. And about 3 weeks later, in my daytimer, I see my assistant has scheduled them, they're coming back. So they come back again. This time they bring me a box of chocolates for my wife. They don't even know I'm married. I never talked to them about that. They just made that assumption. It's a good assumption. I am married and don't love the chocolates. But I said to them, you don't have to keep bringing gifts to thank me for what is just my responsibility and job as a lawyer. So that was the end of the second meeting. A couple of weeks later, they're in my daytimer again, they're coming back. This time I said to them, before they could say to me, what is it you would like? How can I help? And they said, well, we want to organize a conference. Okay. When? We're not sure. We're thinking of doing it in August. Where? We're not sure. We're thinking of doing it in Carleton. So as the days came closer to the conference, you know, there was a day, there was a place. Who's speaking? Well, we're bringing Valerie. We're bringing Valerie from the Afar region. Who's Valerie? Well, those of you in the room that have been and met Valerie, you will never forget Valerie. And there may be some pictures tonight on the scroll that you saw going through. Valerie is an Australian nurse that went there 30 years ago and has never left. She married an Afar elder. She's been adopted by the tribe as their queen. It's a patriarchal society. They have no concept of the queen. Valerie is the queen. They brought Valerie to this little conference at Carleton University, in which 30 people went, including children, as you see tonight. The Afar children were there. And that was the first baby step. And it was at that conference that Ahmed and his elders said to me, we want to take you to Afar. And in my line of work, it often happens, I get these invitations from people who are very proud about their homelands, but it never results, or very rarely results, in a ticket on my desk. So the conference was in August. By October, there was a plane ticket on my desk. It was a very humble group who are suffering their own struggled early settlement as a first-generation group. In Canada, there's only about 700 of them. They gathered around and they bought a ticket and they took me. And this was a dream come true. I was now going to Afar. And there's a place, there's a people, there's a language called Afar. We use that word in daily parlance. Oh, he's gone afar. Well, I went afar. And some of you have been afar. And we will tonight auction off trip, maybe two, to come with. Some of you have bought that. Some of you are coming at the end of October. Some of you have been already. Vicky, Jason, Marlon, Tony Stikeman. There's others here that have been. We've had 9 successful trips. We've deployed. My son led a trip. I don't know where he is. With his friends. Eric, put your hand up. Eric and my son Neville and his girlfriend Stephanie and Jackson. Where's Jackson? Jackson over there. They've all been. They went as 22-year-olds. And they spent a month there. And I said to them, they couldn't do any fundraising to pay for their own ticket or their own expenses. That was no-fly zone. They had to save their money, pay their own way, and fundraise $4,000 to decide on a project while they were there. And they did do that. And you're going to learn about that project tonight. And some of the funds that is being raised tonight is going to go to their project. They selected a project, 47 high school students, refugees from Eritrea, who fled because of mandatory military conscription. There's nothing wrong with military conscription. Korea does it, Singapore does it, for 2 years. What's wrong is if the military conscription becomes unended and the children disappear. That's what's wrong under international law, and that's what they're doing in Eritrea. And that's what the students who have fled out of Eritrea, coming into one of the poorest countries in the world, Ethiopia, that can hardly afford to support them. They're there drifting around, and we're supporting them. We're paying all their... The school is provided free of charge by the state, but we pay for their food, their clothing, their books, and day-to-day living expenses. The refugees otherwise in a refugee camp, who would have no support at all without your help. So, that's how I got involved. That's why I stay involved. It really appeals to me because of the many challenges. This is not easy work. This is work that takes a lot of time and a lot of care and understanding and a lot of effort. We don't always get it right. And that's why we go as frequently as we do, to audit our projects, to see that the things are working, meet with the elders, listen to them, learn what's working well, what can we expand, what's not working that we should abandon and move on from, where are the lessons, best practices, the ISO 9000 kind of standard, if you will, we try. And we are invited guests of the state president, who provides us cars, drivers, logistics on the ground, accommodation, food, and we are invited guests of our local partners, because we don't go there and take our projects and our ideas of what they should be doing. Bound to fail. What we do is we listen to them and learn about the projects they want to do, and what they're doing already, but they just want another 10% or 15% to make the project better, or to have more beneficiaries. So we've had so far 8 projects. We have 2 local partners who are implementing their projects that we're funding, and we've got thousands of beneficiaries. You saw the water filter. We deployed a Canadian water filter technology in a particular village where cholera was so severe that people were dying. No socialized medicine. There's no health care. That maternity hospital that you heard spoken of, it's the first of its kind, serving a population of 1.6 million. Highest maternal mortality rate in the world. 1 in 10 women die during childbirth. And that hospital has been built not by us, but by a legacy out of Australia. Valerie's parents, who are both medical people, donating their entire estate so that Valerie and her husband and our local partner could build, operate, and maintain the first of its kind in that whole area, maternal hospital. So what do? Joan finds medical supplies for free. We load our bags and we take medical supplies that they can't get there. Every person that comes with us has a bag for themselves, 22 kilograms, and 22.5 kilograms of medical supplies. And off we go. It's the easiest project we could do. It doesn't cost us a cent. Free medical supplies that otherwise end up in the landfills here in Ottawa are taken by each of us to a hospital that desperately needs them. And lives are being saved. Not just the mothers, but also the children, the babies. And Neville and Jackson and Eric and Stephanie worked in that hospital for almost a month, making it a better hospital, teaching Western medical practices on hygiene, building a pharmacy, building the grey water drainage system, all at our expense, which $1 here is worth $17 in Ethiopia. Think about the leverage. One thing I want to mention and thank the Centurion Center. A lot of you wonder why we do this on Sunday. The reason we do it on Sunday is because this is free. This hall is donated by the owners of this facility. And they give it to us on Sunday at this time of the year because it's not otherwise used. It's used every day of the week. We could, if we wanted to move in on a Thursday night, which is often true of a fundraiser here in Ottawa, we'd have to pay $10,000. You want your money to go to the rental of this place instead of our projects? Of course you don't. It's true of a lot of charities in the West that raise a lot of money, that 90% of what they raise goes into the administrative costs, the overheads, the rents, the everythings, the salaries, the everythings. We're in a high-cost jurisdiction. We've got the inverse model. Every dollar we raise, 90 cents goes in our projects, 10 cents goes into administration because we don't have high costs here. Everyone donates their time. So we are doing some interesting work. Most of it's humanitarian. And in the going, I realized that I could devote my whole life to this, and each one of you, and still the goalpost would be far away. What's really going on across that border in Eritrea? How can we, without going there, do something that has a meaningful impact? So I want to give credit to Professor Joe Magnet, who just came in. Joe, can you raise your hand, please? He's seated in the carpet area here. Joe Magnet is one of the world's leading constitutional law professors, scholars on ethnic federalism, of which Canada is one of 25 examples. And in particular, his expertise has to do with the protection of minority rights within constitutional frameworks. That is his gray matter expertise. And so I looked across the border into Eritrea and I thought, there's a lot going on there. Why are people fleeing in the tens and hundreds of thousands? What's going on over there? Well, there's 9 nationalities in the 9 ethnicities, what you call ethnicities, across the border there. And Ethiopia is a multi-ethnic, pluralistic society too that has an ethnic federal system of governance that's successful. But it's surrounded by Somalia, Djibouti, Eritrea, Sudan, North and South now, by chaos. Chaos because those countries have not come to grips with developing, as we have here in Canada, a federal system that protects minority rights, that gives the founding and other nationalities, ethnicities, equality under our charter. That's what Eritrea lacks, and that's what Joe, to his amazing credit, has been working on achieving. He's drafted a new constitutional framework for Eritrea. Eritrea doesn't like him, but he's doing it. He's putting himself in harm's way because it needs to be done. He filed a complaint with the United Nations using depositions that myself, Chris Millington, and many others took in the refugee camps, using video evidence of the depositions from the refugees. Filed that, collected that. And the UN appointed a special rapporteur to investigate these allegations, ourselves included, Joe's evidence, and found that they were truthful, and filed a report with the UN. Because new sanctions, the ones that are there in place now, haven't worked. So the UN has to put more pressure on Eritrea. Now, back to the humanitarian side. That's what Joe's doing, and that's why he's here. And he's published a scholarly work on this that is worth reading. We're here because we're doing humanitarian work. We're doing water filters. We're doing educating of kids. We're building capacity, healthcare. If you've got healthy people who are educated, they're more likely to have boats that float higher. The whole society is going to improve through health and education. If we invest in that, then we're doing good. We're building capacity. If we're reacting by just sending water to drought-affected areas or food to the famine and this kind of stuff, which does happen there, then we're just doing band-aids. We're not doing long-term solutions. So we decided as a board of people that are having to learn this as we go, that 80% of all the money that you donate will go into capacity building and 20% will go into relief, including the refugees. So that's our model. 80% on capacity building, health and education, and other things. 20% on relief, saving lives because of drought, because of famine, because of refugee circumstances. And we hope that you support that. By being here tonight, I think you have. You've validated what we're doing. So, I'll come up later and I'll thank a lot of people that I haven't had the chance to do yet, because it's a long list. I've been given many lists from many. But I wanted to hand the mic back to Mike. Okay, I'll introduce the video. So, this next video is, I'll call it the project video. So this is the video that in 5 minutes you're going to see. You saw the first video that showed the landscape and the people's lifestyles. This one will show you the projects that we're doing. The first one was very hopeful. If you remember the video, it showed the calf as part of a caravan, stumbling, falling, weak. It was exhausted. It wasn't going to make it. And the bull turned around and came back at the end of the video and sort of grunted and snuggled and encouraged the little calf to get up and keep going. That is pure art. And it's so hopeful. And the soundtrack just raises the hair on your arms. This next video will show you the hopefulness. It will show you what we're doing to move the goalposts. That we're educating kids, and that we're saving mothers and their infants, and that we're investing in their future. And to Ahmed's words, we're a voice for the voiceless. And we love this, and we love that you want to come and share it with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. We're going to watch the video now. Warren Trees, he walks it, he talks it, and he wears it. Where's it? What?